Hello YouTube, this is Hunter Surge. It's been a minute since a video. We are going to be getting back to it when Clash Alpha drops, but for now I've just been busy with stuff, especially getting more of my playgroup into Elestrals to begin with. But we have a new ban list. We just had our biggest Premier tournament, the game's biggest Premier tournament yesterday. 114 people, something like that. I entered, made 4-3. I also made top 8 the previous day in MBT's Poison Nectar tournament. Is that what it's called? My roommate Brayden made also 4-3 with Wind. Was the best performing Wind in the event. Didn't run Ass Rabbit. The rest of the playgroup tried to spend hours the night before trying to get him to play Ash Rabbit. Did not work. That deck was a fever dream. Then Adrian Barber. If you have played Vanguard, you might know that name. He is also my roommate now. And he went 5-2, placed 10th with Thunder. Very close to making top 8. His two losses were his first loss was to the mistake of siding in Titano Strike, and the second loss was he lost on time to deck size because Spirit Count was tied to Jack Yomu. And then Sean also went 5-2, was like 18th, I think. So yeah, that was the event for all of us. And yeah, if you've looked at the top 16, yeah, it's extremely dominated by Earth and Thunder right now, especially Earth. There were like 3-4 Thunders total in the top 16, one heal, and then everything else was Earth. Sunseed Jess and Big Welcome Laura entered with a Earth Thunder Nexus deck that was running the Race to the Top stuff in Earth and was just running the best Earth guys. So Equilinx and Viserys. Very clearly, something needs to change because the last premiere was already every single Swiss round I fought was Earth or Thunder. That was already the case at that event. Even if we had a decent amount of decks that weren't that in the top cut. And then this event was that again, but even worse. Likely because we have better pricing, so people were trying a lot harder. And we still have 3 more, even if we assume that that Moonrise is going to change anything, we still have 3 more Premier events before Moonrise is legal. So changing something felt like maybe we should change something here. Maybe it should not remain exactly like this all the way up to the release of Moonrise. Now, I'm going to get on my choice restrict soapbox again, but we'll just go through the hits real quick. So to 1, newly hit to 1, we have Equilinx, Pharaohgeist, Arclith, Race to the Top, and Elchek, as well as Viserys has been sent to the Militia Zone at 2 per deck, so you can only get 1 resolution. And then we have temporary limits. This isn't the first time I've seen this sort of thing. It isn't completely unheard of. The last time I remember seeing something like this, it was Argent Saga. Argent Saga in set 1. I did not actually play Argent Saga. I just paid attention to news around it. In set 1, it had a really busted leader card. And it was like a super slow, stally control deck that not only won every game, but also took so long to play the game that your best of 3 matches were going to time in game 1. So that card was a problem. So they went, okay, we're banning this. But when I think the second set or the third set comes out, they were like, they said when they banned it that it was going to come off when the second or third set came out. I don't remember which it was. So it's not the first time I've seen something like this. So I have some thoughts. I have many thoughts. My number 1 thought is that WoW, please explore choice restricts, Pokemon TCG Hall of Fame point system. To just go over that real quick, a choice restrict is where you have 2 or more groups of cards, and you say if you have a card from Group A in your deck, you cannot have a card from Group B in your deck, and vice versa. Pokemon TCG's old Hall of Fame system was a system where in Pokemon TCG what they specifically did was, and this is kind of similar to what Yu-Gi-Oh does, what Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Links does with its limits, with like Limit 3 and stuff like that, is what Pokemon used to do back in the original Japanese format in their Hall of Fame system, is you had a total of 4 points to allocate to your deck, and you had a list of cards that were worth 1 point, a list of cards that were worth 2 points, a list of cards that were worth 3 points, and a list of cards that were worth 4 points. Everything that wasn't on one of those lists was worth 0 points, and you just had to make your decisions as you did. Both these systems give you more complex methods of hitting cards that aren't limited to just hard, it's at 0, it's at 1, it's at 2. Both systems are better equipped to avoid creating Saki one-of scenarios, which unfortunately this is going to do again. We already had that with Earthquake and Resting and Lavalith. Echolinks is at least searchable via Rummagem, so it's not the sackiest thing in the world. Like Echolinks and Elechick are like, those feel like cards that like one hit, limiting them to 1 is appropriate. Other than Elechick, but that's for a different reason, and I'm going to talk about that in a bit. Race to the Top, hitting this to 1 basically just makes it unplayable. Like, Race to the Top is a case where I think like a point system would be better equipped to handle this. Like, say for example, like as a hypothetical, let's say you get 4 points to your deck. Let's say 6 points actually. Let's say 6 points. And you say Earthquake, Resting, Lavalith, these are worth 2 points each. But Race to the Top is worth 1 point. So because it is a worse removal card than Earthquake and Laurels, and because it's worse at that, we are going to let it be worth more points, and you run it more. So if you're a deck that can lean into Race to the Top, you are more encouraged to go for the Race to the Top on your point usage, to account for the fact that it is overall just a worse card. Farrageist is a pre-hit. So Farrageist is because Full Moon lets you turn any Elestral into a Farrageist. Any Elestral lives, you Full Moon it, and you turn into Farrageist, and that's kind of goofy. That's a bit goofy. And also it means that the combo deck thing, where you get 2 Farrageist on the board and you just win the game now, can't happen. So that avoids that scenario. Yeah. Archilith. So Archilith is a bit annoying. Hitting it to 1 is like kind of weird because you typically only get 1 resolution anyways per game, and it's still going to it's still a thing where you just have to play around it if it's at 1 because it can just kill you. However, this does mean that you can bait out the first Archilith when you know you're safe, and then you know they won't have another Archilith. So that's pretty nice. That's not too bad, though I am kind of the opinion that if Archilith was going to get hit, it should probably be banned. If you recognize that just come down and end the game factor of Archilith is a problem, I feel this is a card you should kind of just ban. So I'm not a big fan of that. Demeter and Zeus 2-1. I kind of feel this should be permanent. I don't think Moonrise is going to change enough that these two will be so much worse that they shouldn't still be at 1 because they're just so far and away the best Divine Runes in the entire game. There's just no contest between Demeter and Zeus and the other Divine Runes. They're just so much better. This winning combat for so many turns in a row is just so powerful, and it's a big part of why Thunderstorm saw off play this event, and part of that was to punish overinvesting on Demeter and Zeus, and prevent your opponent from just winning combat forever. But it was also so that you could get rid of a back row and go, okay, my Archilith will just win the game now. My Elechick will guarantee resolve to get me my Demeter or Zeus. My Viserys will guarantee resolve now, etc., etc., etc. Viserys 2 is a good idea. It truly, like it's been said a lot, but it truly is the third Viserys that gets you. Only having two does make this a lot worse. Um, yeah. Um, Also, Demeter and Zeus being at one means that like Thunderstorm techs are stronger now against these cards, because if you Thunderstorm their one Demeter or Zeus, they won't have another, and you can just go, okay, I don't have to worry about them winning combat for free anymore. I don't have to worry about Equilinx just being crazy anymore. Tons of things that you no longer have to worry about at all. So that's I'm actually a big fan of that limited. The only thing is that I don't think it should be temporary. So I think it should be permanent. That said, like the Earth Thunder list that Jess brought and took to first, is just going to run one of each. But only one of these enables Equilinx, so like that's a whole thing. Elichick, I really feel that Elichick should have been a choice restrict, and that's specifically because Elichick. Okay, Elichick should either be banned or should be choice restricted, is basically my opinion on this. I don't think this is a card that should be limited, because even if it's at one, like it's this weird middle ground. So like Elichick is fine with the other divine runes because the other divine runes don't make Elichick a 7 attacker. Demeter and Zeus make it a 7 attacker. So either we should be going, okay, we just don't want this stat line on a Divine Searcher in our game, so we're just going to ban it, just completely get rid of it, make people switch over completely to Plucky instead of this weird middle ground where we're like, okay, we run the one Elichick and like one or two Plucky, something like that. Or we go, this is very clearly a problem when it's used with Demeter and Zeus specifically. It is specifically a problem in tandem with those two cards. So instead of taking it away from the 6 other significantly worse divine runes, what we are going to do is we are going to go, you can use Elichick, but if you have a single copy, any copies at all, of Demeter or Zeus in your deck, you cannot use Elichick. And therefore, by doing that, we would not hurt the other divine runes, which are already like not doing anything. Allow them to keep access to Elichick. So we allow Aeolus to keep access to Elichick. We allow no, you shouldn't be playing Poseidon. You allow Apollo if you want to run Elichick in there to keep access to it, etc., etc., etc. Yeah. What would another one of note even be? I don't know. I don't even think there actually are any. I think it's literally Aeolus is the big one. Apollo decks don't tend to run Elichick, so yeah, it's really just Aeolus. That's very funny. It's very, very funny. Yeah, I think a choice restrict would have been way better in this case. The race to top hit is very funny, because the best performing Thunder list did not run race to the top. It ran Zeus Cryoblast instead. But you only get one shot at Zeus now. So you know that's pretty nice. That is still like a hit to that deck. Now, like, ultimately, these hits aren't going to take Earth and Thunder out of being, like, really powerful decks. Like, they are going to be able to adjust to these hits and still perform. However, what this does do, in my opinion, and we'll see how this shakes out. We'll see if this turns out to be right. I know that I'm going to be on my Ice Bugs again next Premiere. Because because there are a lot of decks that are, like, just a bit below Thunder and Earth, but you have to work so much harder to win against the current versions of Thunder Earth. I was like, why would I even bother? But this brings down the power level of Thunder and Earth enough that those decks that were just a bit below should be able to compete more reasonably. Like, I'm thinking stuff like Cryo Rhino was just a bit below. Aeolus Wind is another deck. Bears, probably. Bears has like a lot of really strong things going for it, and if you just bring down the power level of Earth and Thunder a bit like this, then it's probably in a good enough place. Especially only having one copy of Demeter and Zeus, because one of the best ways to get over Don't Poke is the ability to use Demeter and Zeus to give yourself a big enough stat lead that that you won't die to a defensive Don't Poke. That you'll just be fine. And then being able to just go Thunderstorm, clear your Demeter Zeus, is going to hurt those decks a lot. Fire Next is another deck that feels like it's around there. There were a couple on the 5-2 bubble. And the last one, Solar could be there. Like a Solar build similar to what Trish was playing at the 2 premieres ago. That feels like it could be close enough now. Particularly, one thing that I think Solar and Wind really have going for them is that Earth and Thunder, with only one copy of Demeter and Zeus, which can be popped, could have a harder time having Alter be consistently live. And since Aeolus and Apollo decks still have access to 3 copies of their Divine Rune, they won't have that flaw. And Alter is just a very, very powerful card. So that's cool. That's very cool. That's very cool to see. I do think this does do something. It just doesn't take Earth and Thunder out of the meta. But I do think it lowers the power level of those decks enough that those decks that were just a bit below are more reasonably able to compete. I do think that Zeus and Demeter hits are too integral of a part of bringing down that power level that I think these need to become permanent changes. If we go back to Demeter and Zeus at 3, I think we are going to go back to Earth, Ancestor, or Thunder being the best deck. Probably a hodgepodge at this point with Echolinks at 1, Electric at 1, etc., etc. That's my thoughts. Excited to play my big old Ice Bug again, but I will not be doing that locals for the next couple of weeks because I need my Divine Favor. With that said, this is Hunter Church, signing off.